What stage of business are you in? Because it determines your strategy and tactics that you apply to grow your business. This is Dr. Spencer Coaches. Today I'm going to talk to you about the 5 stages of business because so many entrepreneurs get into business in the startup stage and don't know what to do next. You may look for growing before you scale or scale before you're experiencing a profit. And skipping steps can lead to bankruptcy because you could be wanting to hire new employees, buying the best equipment. This is one of the biggest problems that small businesses have is you begin to hire too many employees, or you start buying the latest, greatest reception furniture, office furniture, and decor, or get the most expensive office in the best location because the building is nice. Things of that nature, you got to consider what's called a return of investment. What's going to be your return of investment? And when you're starting out and maybe you got to work on, how are you going to raise capital? What's your business going to be? Who is your demographic? So let me get into this because one of the biggest mistakes that small businesses make is they start to grow before they scale. And or they spend, once they start experiencing a profit, they start paying themselves more money and splurging, like buying a new car, things of that nature. Now, so I'll get into what are the 5 steps or the 5 stages of business. So here it is. The first stage is the startup stage. We all know what that is. The second stage is what I call the grit stage, because this is the real trialing time where you got to work those 7 days a week, 14 hours a day. And it's just something all entrepreneurs have to do in the beginning until you make a good amount of money where you can hire someone else to do the work for you, like managers and directors. And that grit, each stage usually takes about a year. The third stage is going to be what I call in the black, because you're profiting. It's the opposite of being in the red. Being in the red means you're in a deficit. It means your profit margin is 0. You're just breaking even, or you keep, what a lot of entrepreneurs do is their cash flow problems. They start taking money out of their savings and dumping it in because they're not making any money. They're in the red. And that usually happens during the grit stage. So it goes startup, grit, to in the black, which is the opposite of in the red. And then you have scaling, and that means you're optimizing everything. And then you have growth. That means you're expanding your offices, hiring new people, moving into a bigger office building. And that's really this point in time where you have made it. So let me get into each step so you know exactly where you are and see where you fit into this. And then you can see the road ahead to plan properly. Because if you're planning for growth and you haven't scaled, you're going to wind up spending more money than you have to. Or if you're thinking that you're going to scale and optimize when you're not bringing in new business, you're going to waste money and waste time there too. Or if your marketing plan isn't rock solid, your cash flow isn't going to be there. Your profit margin, your net profit, your gross revenue isn't going to be there. You need clients and customers ultimately. Now, who are those clients and customers? What problem do you solve in them? And that's ultimately the startup. What product or service are you going to sell? What's the vision? Is there a demand for it? Is there a real need for what product or service you're selling? Especially in healthcare. If you're a healthcare practitioner, what special niche, what special illness, what disease, what problem in a patient do you love to solve? Sciatica, irritable bowel syndrome, headaches, heart disease, things of that nature. And in any business, this doesn't just go for healthcare practitioners. You need to figure out your target market. Who is your avatar? Who is your ideal client? And what problem do they have? And how can you solve it? How can you prove that you get results? So this is all in the startup stage because it's a proposal. If you ever write up a business plan and go to a bank, you're going to pitch an idea. This is my product. This is my service. This is who it connects to. This is a problem it solves in them because there's a real need for this. Just like gasoline. I mean, you pretty much don't. Do you see gas stations marketing themselves? No, you don't. You don't see ads. You don't see coupon flyers. You don't see Facebook ads, TikTok ads for your local gas station. Because there is such a need, such a demand for it, you just open up a gas station. Your only competitor is the gas station down the block or across the street. And you see these price wars between them. Sometimes the regular is cheaper, and then sometimes the super is cheaper on the other side. And that's the only thing you've got to do. It's almost a foolproof business because there's such a demand for gasoline in cars. Same with car insurance. I mean, if you have a car, you need car insurance. You sell car insurance, you're almost guaranteed to sell car insurance. Now, I'm not saying guaranteed, but there's a higher probability. So in other words, you need to look at the return of investment. Is there a real need? Is there a real demand for the product or service you want to sell? I became a chiropractor, and I found out an area that I opened up a practice in, chiropractic is not very popular. What I did find popular in this area is functional medicine. And that's a field of healthcare where you go upstream to look for the root cause of disease, being hormone imbalances, problems in the gut, and then problems with diet and nutrition and micronutrition, vitamins and minerals and things of that nature. So, when you think of a business and you pitch the idea to get a loan, you need capital. You need funding. That's the whole startup. And this is where the excitement is. This is where you open your own business and you're real happy and you're looking to you fulfill your life's vision. You always dreamed of being your own boss. And now, 6 months into it, that enthusiasm is still there, but now it's like, well, how do I get clients? How do I get customers? How do I get patients? Crickets. I own a chiropractic practice, and I've seen some psychiatrists open up an office right next to mine. In fact, it was my old office. I moved over in the building. And you can tell she didn't know how to get clients. Same with the other mental health care therapist next to me. You see some busy weeks and some weeks where they're not even in the office. What are they doing? And I saw an acupuncturist open up. She was real business savvy. She began opening or renting out other offices because she was doing so well. She just had this energy about her, a real people person. So, you wonder why certain businesses thrive when they first open up. Because it's marketing. You see, when you start up a business, you have a certain ideal customer, client, patient, and now it's how do you connect with them? Don't confuse marketing with selling. It's not about convincing. It's about connecting. It's about letting the community know what you can do for them and really connecting with your target market, your ideal client, your avatar, and letting them know, really empathizing with them. That's the word I'm looking for, is because you need to, or they need to really get to know you or develop trust in you. And you do that, nothing breeds trust more than vulnerability. So if you're really, you're really open with your target market, why you're doing it, what your goal is, how you understand your problem. Let's just say I'm a chiropractor and I can say, well, I had sciatica when I was a teenager and I went to a chiropractor and it fixed it. So I'm really passionate because I had this burning down my leg. I actually did have sciatica. It was mild. It wasn't that bad, but it still, began to make me wonder, this can't be a good thing if my foot is going numb. And then that can become most chiropractors, most doctors, most healthcare practitioners get into a practice and they start to practice what helped them, what got them into it. And they really understand that point of view. They know, hey, I had sciatica, my foot was going numb, I could stick a nail through it and not even feel it, or I had this lightning shooting down my leg, I couldn't walk, I couldn't drive, I couldn't go to work. It was terrible. I became depressed. I was popping all these Tylenols and it didn't work. They understand the pain is what I'm getting at. When you understand the pain, the problem of your target market, and then really understand the consequence of that pain. If you have sciatica, you're not going to go to work. You don't go to work. You're not going to get a paycheck. You don't get a paycheck. You're not going to pay rent. You're going to be moving back in with your mom and dad. You're going to lose that car that you so love. There's all these consequences to the problem. And that's really what marketing is. Now, I don't suggest doubling up and then studying marketing. You do got to know a little bit about marketing and selling and closing. But that's when you hire a marketer. This is the grit stage. So once you're past the startup stage, you're entering into the grit stage, because maybe you've had friends. This is what happens with every business. You get your friends and family to buy from you, to become your patient. And that kind of kickstarts things. And you pray for referrals. And you tell them, if you know anybody who needs some help, where to send them, or some type of message, along those notes. So, this is something that you really got to develop a real knack for marketing, in the sense that you're not going to become a professional marketer, but you got to know how to connect with people. That's when you start joining the Rotary Club and start going to Chamber of Commerce meetings. For me, I became the chiropractor for the UFC gym, and I took care of all of the employees, all the trainers, and they referred their family and clients in. And that's what really kickstarted my practice. And I nurtured that relationship, and I dropped the ball on the nurturing of that relationship, and new personal trainers came in. The old personal trainers left. They couldn't make a living because they couldn't connect with their target market. And then I didn't connect with them. So they didn't know who I was, even though I was their chiropractor for 3 years. I had to reconnect with them and rekindle a new relationship with them. And they were a whole new animal, different mentality. So the idea of having a rapport with your target market, whatever marketing method works for you, you're going to find that which works for you. And you're going to stick to it 100%. And that's the key. You can't switch social media, Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, LinkedIn, networking. You got to focus on one thing and then keep the other ones going in the background. Say you've got a Facebook page, a Facebook marketing ad, and you're just running ads all week, or maybe Tuesday through Thursday, but your real niche is talking to people, and you go and network. You got to, every day when you close your office, you're going to go talk to people. Or let's just say talking to people isn't your niche, and you got a real knack for social media, and you double down on the social media marketing, and you're doing really well. That doesn't mean you give up on networking. You still talk to people. You just don't make that your main marketing method. Whatever marketing method works for you, you're going to find that you got to just go 100% and be consistent about it. Do it all the time. Relentless marketing is the key to getting into the black, and the key to being able to hire employees. Because most entrepreneurs start out as solopreneurs. And that's where the grind is. You're really just doing everything. You're wearing many hats. You're doing your own bookkeeping. You're doing your own scheduling, your own ordering, your own office cleaning, your own office managing, your own client management. Everything, you wear all the hats, and you start to feel overwhelmed. And this is where the grit is. Because until you make enough money to hire somebody, a marketing agency, a receptionist, an assistant, a manager, you really have to lead your own way. You've got to carve your own path. And this is where many people fail. It becomes overwhelming. A lot of entrepreneurs, you just don't know what you're getting yourself into, and then you wind up quitting because you're not seeing enough profit, and you think it's not worth it. And there are those who just don't give up because they're so driven, they're so passionate. No matter what, they're relentless about talking to people. They're so passionate about their product or their service that enthusiasm just spills over, and they win people over that way. But then they think that's it. And you can only go so far just talking to people as you walk around. You got to really create a specialized networking, a specific networking, going to where your target market is. So now I don't want to make this all about marketing, but you'll see how that marketing and branding is where I'm getting at. This is going from the startup. You need to make a name for yourself, make a reputation. In other words, that's the branding. Who do you help? What problem do you solve? And how do you solve it? And that how do you solve it is your brand. And now you need to market that solution. And that's the grit stage. You're going to be relentlessly marketing, hustling, working 14 hours a day, 7 days a week for a year, 2 years maybe. And then you start to see a profit. And maybe not a profit, but you begin to break even. That loan that you got is being paid off, so to speak. And now you're in the black. You're starting to make some money. You're starting to see some profits. You've already hired somebody. And now this is where you're quasi-delegating. This is where the beginning of leadership comes in. You don't really know how to delegate, how to be a boss, but you know you have to be a boss, but your leadership isn't really effective. So you may not get along with your manager, your employees. You may be going hiring and rehiring. You're going to go through a process of what exactly managing and leadership is. Because you have an operation, you have a certain set of office procedures, work procedures, whether it's you're a doctor and you have patient, techniques of healing or whatever it is, you have a procedure that needs to be mastered. And how much time do you spend? How do you make your time efficient so you can get the most out of it and see more people? How do you handle an influx of clients and customers in one day? Do you need more register people? Do you need more cashiers? Do you need more products? Do you need a storage room to store products? Do you need a more efficient scheduler now? Do you need an actual bookkeeper who can come in once a week and do your books? This is when you begin to understand what delegation is. And you realize that without the hired help, you wouldn't be able to get the work done. But you're making enough money to hire people. So you're in the black. You're seeing success. Things are beginning to sustain itself. You're out of that grit stage. You're out of working 14 hours a day, 7 days a week. You've hired a manager, but you're really just breaking even and maybe making a little bit of profit, but you're definitely out of the red. You're not worried about the lights being turned on. You're not worried about the loan being paid off. You're not worried about making your car payments, things of that nature, paying your rent or a mortgage on a house. Because money, cash flow is steadily coming in. It's just not coming in at a 50% profit margin, maybe a 5 to 10% profit margin, but you're out of the red. And that's the third stage. So you're starting to experience a small degree of success. And this is where people give up. This is what I did. I was bringing in new patients, then I stopped my marketing. I lost my relationship with the UFC gym. I sponsored a world champion named Milton Bastos. He's like a 10-time world champion. He invited me to go take jiu-jitsu at his place because I was taking it over at the UFC gym. So I went over there for months, like 6 months. And that's when I just said, I got to go back into the UFC gym to say hello. And the manager came up to me, "Where have you been? We've had all these people asking about you." I said, "You just give them my card." "Yeah, but they wanted to meet you." I said, "Okay, I better get going back here." And that's when I looked around. All the trainers were gone, and there's all new faces. Wow, I gotta develop a whole new rapport with everybody. And so I started going back to the UFC gym and rekindled my rapport and built it back up. But I realized that marketing never ends. Whatever your marketing method is, it cannot end just because you're tasting a degree of success. Some people, they get their first big paycheck, or they're able to get a nice profit margin where they can finally start paying themselves well. And then you wind up buying, a Mercedes, getting on these $1,000 a month car payments. That's not what you need to do. This is the mistake, is what I'm saying. A lot of entrepreneurs make this mistake, is you start buying things. No, this is where discipline comes in. This is where commitment really comes in, that dedication. You need to reinvest that profit back into the business, back into scaling it. And this is where the scaling portion comes in. Now you need to work on streamlining your operations, streamlining your procedures. How can you see more patients all up in the same time? I worked for a chiropractor who saw 300 patients a day. He would see 100 patients in the first hour. And he had his whole office procedures. He had the office set up, 6 rooms. Everything was set up like a play. It was like a well-directed play where he was able to spend 30 seconds with each patient. And he had such a presence about him, he paid such attention, such caring attention to all of his patients that 30 seconds felt like 10 minutes. And he just had that knack. So you got to work on yourself. How can you bring more value to just you as the doctor, as the business owner, as the salesperson? How can you bring more value to your clients in who you are? Because it's not about the shiny object. It's about you, your personality, your energy, your communication skills. And that's what you really need to develop, because you never stop. And a lot of entrepreneurs think, "Oh, I got it figured out. I'm bringing in new clients. I'm not making a lot of money. I am profiting, but I'm not living in a multi-million-dollar home yet," or whatever the case may be. There's still development, both personal and professional. hiring the right team. This is where your leadership really begins to develop. Because now you may have a manager and an assistant manager. You may have 3 office assistants. You may hire an associate. Maybe I wouldn't recommend it at this stage. That's the growing stage. But you're going to start to streamline all of your procedures. Maybe set your hours differently. Set things up so they become routine. Create a habit, so to speak. It's almost like, you don't have to think about brushing your teeth. In the morning, you get your coffee set up, so when you wake up, it's already made. It's on automatic. Things of that nature. You begin to scale your business. This is streamlining and optimizing your control line. Your control line is going to be your sales, your marketing, and your production. And then also the other side is going to be the behavior side, which is the office environment, the culture of the office that you have. And what kind of motivation are you bringing? How are you leading them? I used to have a Monday morning powwow every week just to enroll my staff into, my vision of helping the world become healthy without drugs and medicine. I asked them, you believe in chiropractic? This is what we're here for. If you don't believe in chiropractic, get lost. Because you don't need someone who doesn't believe in you, doesn't believe in what the business is working for you, because they're going to badmouth you behind your back to your own clients and customers and patients. That's why you get rid of them. And this is where you really start to hire the people that you want to hire. Now that you're making money, it's your choice. Maybe you're putting up with someone who did a decent job. Now you can say, you know what, I want to hire someone better. And your ability to look for qualities in employees is better. So you're not paying them anymore. You're just firing and hiring someone better. So it's not an increased cost, in other words. Scaling does not involve a high degree of increased cost to increase your profit margin. Scaling is really preparing your business for growth and increasing your profit margin while spending very little. And there are ways to do that by creating efficiency through lean agile management. And the principles of lean agile management doesn't have to be with a 10,000 employee office corporation. It could be applied in your small business, office procedures especially, patient management, client management especially. I've had a patient who's a psychologist who revolves all of her time around her patient time. She takes no time for herself. She cancels appointments because a patient of hers needed to come in. That's not the way to run your business. She's a slave to her patient's schedule. She's not in control of her own time. So you need to be in control of your own time so you can control the outcome. In other words, you can dictate the action steps that need to take to fulfill the weekly goals. This is when you really start to develop a plan, or you take the plan from when you start up and you begin to refine it, because now you see how you developed, and now you can see where that development is going and what next do you need to do. And this is where delegation comes in. Without proper delegation, without proper leadership structure, without managers and employees, your business will just halt. And this is where a lot of people, right at the success stage, they stay right there. And then what happens is, because they're not increasing a profit, they wind up selling their business at a small profit to make money. And because the profit margin, the equity was built up in the business, they're able to make some money by selling it, and that's why they sell it. Because they're still teeter-tottering between the success stage and the grit stage. They're still putting in all this time and money and not really seeing a huge return, just a small profit, just enough to get by. I don't want to fire anybody to increase the profit margin, because if you pay somebody, that comes out of your profit. And that's usually when they sell the business. So, at the success stage, you need to begin to streamline and optimize, which is your leadership. And that is directing the patient management and the office procedures, and create a work environment, a work culture where people want to come to work. People are excited to work for you. People are excited about your business, your vision. So you create goals, and you'll be able to guide that team in the fulfillment of the company vision. And that's when they feel like it's a family. You treat your employees like a family, where everybody has each other's backs. You can take time off. Someone can cover you, things of that nature. But if you're a solopreneur, especially if you're a doctor, and you have one assistant, one receptionist, it's going to be hard to take time off. And this is where you're thinking about maybe hiring somebody, hiring an associate, because it'll help expand your practice. And that's growth. And if you're not set up for growth, in other words, if you're not bringing enough money, if you're a doctor and you want to hire another doctor, you're an acupuncturist, you want to hire another acupuncturist, you got to pay them well. You're not going to pay a doctor the same pay rate as a receptionist, as a medical assistant. You're not going to pay a chiropractor the same as a chiropractic assistant. You're going to have to give them a fair wage, which means that's cutting into your profit margin. So you got to make sure that you're making enough money. And you're making enough money because everything is streamlined, everything is optimized, where you spend very little and have a high return of investment. And then when you grow, you may rent out another office. You may rent out other office space. This is the growth stage now, the fifth stage, where you're hiring another associate, where you're hiring another assistant to handle the influx of new patients, or another assistant manager to handle the procedures, because some of the employees are calling in sick all the time. You know what I mean? And then you're getting new customers and you're having these clearance sales, and now you can't handle the business, and there's a line at the register. You ever see this in grocery stores now, especially after COVID? In the grocery store around me is called Safeway. They fired a lot of people during COVID because they're closed, but now when they reopen and they still haven't recovered, I used to see every single register with a cashier. Now you see only one cashier, and then you see the automated, the self-checkout line. And only when that one cashier gets to be a line down the aisle do they get another cashier and open it up. You'll see how they are creating efficiency within their profit margin by not hiring a lot of cashiers. Because of the self-checkout, they're really relying upon that. And there's very little cashiers. You'll see most of those cashiers, those lines are closed when you go to the grocery store. There's only one, maybe two cashiers now at grocery stores, when there used to be 5 to 10. So you follow what I'm saying. If you're not hiring people, you don't got to pay them. And if you're not going to pay somebody, that's an increase in profit margin. That is scaling. When a company fires 10,000 employees, you see, there's like AT&T got taken to court for violating the Anti-Sherman Trust Act. They were found guilty. They could not monopolize the telecommunications industry back in the early 90s, late 80s. And they got broken up into smaller companies. And they fired 10,000 employees. That is scaling. That's a part of scaling, to increase your profit margin without increasing cost. And this is where true leadership comes in, because if you don't have the grit, if you don't have just the knowing, you don't have the greater vision. In other words, if you're taking things personally, you're not going to be able to fire 10,000 people. You're not going to be able to fire that ineffective office worker, even though you like them, to hire someone better skilled. You know what I mean? It's something that this is really the hard part. This is where the true leader comes out. And not all business owners are leaders. You may hire someone to be the CEO, the director, the manager, while you're just the primary investor, and you can be the doctor. And really, that's what you want to have your clinic set up as. If you're a healthcare practitioner, you don't want to be thinking about office procedures. You don't want to be thinking about marketing. You want to focus on your patients. 100% of your energy should be on your patients. And this is where, if you're making enough money, you can grow to hire a professional marketing agency. You're going to be paying, $2,000 to $3,000 a month to run all of these ads on social media to cover their retainer fee and the cost of the ads. And they should be bringing in at least double to triple the amount of new patients. That's how you know it's a payoff. If you're just breaking even, well, it's not really worth the investment. You may pull back on the amount of ads you're selling. And, okay, it's breaking even. Then I don't need to spend as much on ads, but at least I'm getting patients in, and I can use them as referrals by asking them, and then work on the networking. So you're going to really adapt your marketing to the changing times. And this is where the scaling goes into growing, because if you're able to adapt your company, adapt your marketing, adapt your messaging, adapt your procedures, adapt your business model, then you can really grow. And this is where you really start to see a huge profit margin. Now you can pay yourself 6 figures, $250,000 a year. Now you can buy that dream home. Now you can hire another associate and pay them 6 figures. The growth stage is really when you're truly in the black and the true sense of success is there. This is when you have a chairman, the club of chairs. You have a CEO, a COO, a CMO, and a CFO, a chief executive officer, a chief operations officer, a chief marketing officer, and a chief financial officer. So you have the club of chairs and you have directors. This is the board of directors. You have the chair and the directors voting on what needs to happen. This is when you grow from 1 million to 7 million to high seven figures. So if you're a medical clinic, you're a holistic healthcare clinic, and naturopath, chiropractor, this is when you start to franchise your practices. You really have a marketing message. You've really branded your name. You have office procedures, marketing procedures, delegation procedures down. You know who to hire, how to market, how to connect with your community, how to draw in new patients, new clients, and you can do it anywhere and reproduce it. And that's the growth stage. When you really franchise your business out, and now you're really bringing, because now you can bring in an equal amount of profit in the satellite clinics and double your money. So if you're a healthcare practitioner, if you're a small business, these are the 5 stages of business. You've got your startup stage, you've got your grit stage, where you just got to put in the time and energy. And it's really honing in your marketing and really low levels of delegation. Then you're in the black. That's when you have small degrees of delegation. You're profiting, not a whole lot, but you are profiting. You can kind of relax, but you got to be relentless in your marketing. You can't give up. You got to keep going, keep trekking forward. Just because you're bringing in new money doesn't mean you stop. And then you go into scaling. You reinvest that profit into your company to optimize everything. So then you can bring in even more clients, handle 300 patients a day, open up new clinics, hire new doctors, hire staff of docs, hire staff of nurses, hire staff of assistants, open up new clinics, and really start hugely, or I should say, that's when you start to experience a huge profit margin, when you can really invest in your business and pay yourself well. That's when you're really making money. That's when your company is established. You have a reputation around your area. People know you for who you are. You have a reputation in the surrounding communities. Everyone knows your business to be that business to go to. And that's when you're driving 2 Mercedes, maybe a Lambo, maybe in that 5,000 square foot house in a 3-acre lot. You're the guy building the 2nd floor on the house, the biggest house in there, whatever it is. You're buying a vacation home. This is when you're really profiting. You're able to enjoy life. You're able to take time off work. The business runs itself. All you've got to do is show up to make sure the gears are greased. And that is the 5th level of growth. That's when you've really made it. So those are the 5 levels, and you figure out which level you're in. If you're in the 2nd stage, going into the 3rd stage, or perhaps in the 3rd stage, wanting to scale, this is where I come in. I'm going to help you scale your practice so you can only have to work 3 days a week in my 3-day work week business method. And we need to first assess your business to find out what stage you're in. And that's what you're going to get, a 2024 business plan. You're going to get a mindset coaching session because you need to work on your energy. Like energy attracts like energy. And then you're also going to get a high-performance nutrition plan to help keep your energy even-keeled so you don't experience these spikes, these ups and downs throughout the day. And you can stay focused on your work and not feel drained or burnt out. Go ahead and click on the link. You can schedule a consultation with me. It's free of charge. You have nothing to lose, so you can make more money, have more fun, and spend more time with the people who matter. This is Dr. Spencer Coaches. Thank you so much for listening. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe.